In all our experience, whatever we experience, there is a subject and an object. There is an experiencer and there is the experienced. There is a seer and the seen. When I look at this microphone, the microphone is the object of my experience, I am the subject. I am the experiencer, the microphone is the experienced. I am the seer, and the microphone is the seen. And the subject and the object are different. They are different entities. The experiencer and the experienced are different entities. The seer and the seen are always different entities. And Vedānta takes advantage of this fact. It takes advantage of the fact that two things. First of all our experience is subject and object, seer and seen. And the seer and the seen are always different, number one. Number two, we always are the seer. In any experience, we always know who are we? The subject of the experience, the experiencer, the seer. Now, holding on to these two facts, this text has taken us on a journey. It says, look at the world. With your eyes, look at the world. The things that you see are the objects of your vision. Your eyes are the subject. The eyes are different from what they see. The seer and the seen are different. Go deeper. The eyes themselves are the object of our experience. My eyes are open, closed, or whatever. When the eyes become the object of my experience, I am the experiencer of my eyes. Experiencer of my eyes means I know the condition of my eyes. I know whether they're open, whether they're closed, whether I can see, whether I cannot see. All these things I know. What knows? The mind. The mind is the experiencer, and the sense organs, the eyes and ears and nose and so forth, are the experienced. And the mind is different from the sense organs. So I must be the mind experiencing my own sensory system. Go deeper. The contents of our minds, thoughts, emotions, perceptions, ideas, memories, even the Vedānta that we are reading, they're contents of our minds. And we are aware of these contents. Are we not aware that we are happy or we are sad, that we understand or do not understand, as the case may be, but we feel it. So there is something within which is the subject, for which the mind itself is an object. So mind becomes an object, the seen, and there's a subject, the witness of the mind, pure consciousness, the witness consciousness deep within us. That is what we really are, watching our minds. With our minds, we experience our bodies and sense organs. With our bodies and sense organs, we experience the world. We means that witness consciousness. This is the story so far. Now, several questions will arise. You see, it's fine to logically divide ourselves into pure consciousness, the witness consciousness and everything else. Minds, sense organs, body and the world on one side, and the witness consciousness on the other side. We are the witness consciousness, and everything else we witness, they are seen, and we are the seer. But if you think about it, you will immediately say, wait a moment, you will immediately say that. There is a difference between the way we experience this book, for example, or the microphone, and the way we experience our bodies. You see, the first practical objection should be, it is true that the microphone or that device is different from me, and my body is not different in that way, because I feel my body. My body is part of my identity. I never say, I am a book or I am an electronic device. I can say it is my book, it is his electronic device, but I do not say I am these. But I say not only that it is my body, but I often say I am the body. I am tall or thin, male or female, young or old. These are characteristics of the body. So I identify with my body, which I do not with objects outside. And more precisely, why do we identify ourselves with our bodies? Because there is consciousness in the body. We are aware. We can touch our bodies. I feel the touch. I feel cold. I feel heat. If you pinch me, I feel pain. In one of the texts written by Shankaracharya, when he's talking about this discrimination between the body and the witness consciousness, the student says, "But sir, it hurts. Even after all this analysis, the body is an object, it still hurts." So why is it, if I am the witness consciousness, why is it that I feel consciousness in the body? Not only that, my sense organs are bright with consciousness. I see. It's a conscious experience. It's not just a witness. I'm actually seeing. I hear. You can touch me. I feel it. In the mind, I think. I have emotions. I have ideas. These are all conscious experiences. And there's consciousness here. So how does consciousness come to the body? From the witness consciousness, how does consciousness come to the body? How is it that the body feels conscious? In Indian philosophy, there is a distinction between the self, the subtle body, and the gross body. The gross body is the physical body. The body which is sitting here, the body about which I say it weighs 60 kgs or 100 kgs or whatever. That's the gross body. And thoughts, emotions, feelings, memories, personality, all of that, the subtle thing within, it's called the subtle body. And beyond this is the ātmā, the self, we ourselves. So the Indian philosopher, not just Vedānta, others too, they have a trichotomous view of the human personality. It's not just body-mind. It's body, mind, self. Gross body, subtle body, and the self. Trichotomous view, threefold view of the human personality. The word soul in English is ambiguous. When we say soul, S-O-U-L, soul, we have to make it clear whether we mean the mind or the self. The word soul in English comprises of both the self and the mind. They are put together in literature, in philosophy, even in science. It's together. The word soul actually includes, it can mean either the subtle body or the self. So you have to make a distinction there. Now, in Vedānta we say, the witness consciousness is reflected in the subtle body. The witness consciousness is reflected in the subtle body. If we look inside, we feel, we are aware, we are thinking, we are feeling, we are trying to understand, we see, we hear. All this is consciousness. And the consciousness that we feel inside is exactly this reflected consciousness. The consciousness, the sentience, the awareness which we feel right now, all of us, is that reflected consciousness. The mind gets consciousness from this reflected consciousness. Pure or witness consciousness reflected in the mind or the subtle body. Reflected consciousness. And that reflected consciousness shines in the mind, and the mind gets consciousness. It borrows consciousness. And the mind which has borrowed consciousness reflects that consciousness, sends that consciousness, transmits that consciousness to our sensory system. And our eyes, our ears, our nose, our skin, they all, lights are thrown on, Lights come on there. One by one, the lights come on. The mind and the sense organs do not have consciousness of their own. Vedānta says. It is the witness consciousness, the sakshi, the witness consciousness, that witness consciousness shining on the mind becomes the reflected consciousness. And that reflected consciousness illumines the mind. And the sense organs borrow consciousness from the mind. And the body now borrows consciousness from the sensory system. To the point that the sensory system functions. Up to this point, I am. We all feel that right now. Beyond this, I am not. This is me, this is not me. How does that work? Because this body is conscious. Where did the body get consciousness from? Does it belong to the body? No, it does not belong to the body. How do you know it does not belong to the body? Because sometimes the body is conscious, and when the body dies, or when we fall unconscious, the body loses consciousness. It does not act as a conscious being anymore. So the body does not have its own consciousness. You see, there is this concept of intrinsic consciousness and borrowed consciousness. What's the difference? Borrowed consciousness is that which comes and goes. Intrinsic consciousness is that which stays. A very simple example would be when we cook. The fire is burning and we put a vessel on the fire and we put water in the vessel and we put vegetables in the water. After some time, the vegetables are hot. They get boiled. The heat in the vegetables, does it belong to the vegetables? If it did, it would always be hot. But if you switch off when you serve it, put it out there, very soon the vegetables are cold. So the heat does not belong to the vegetables. When they were in the refrigerator, they were cold, and in the pan they are hot. When you serve them out, after some time they become cold. So it becomes cold because the heat in the vegetables was borrowed. Borrowed from what? From the boiling water. Does the water have heat of its own, intrinsic heat? No. Because it was cold earlier, now it's boiling. And after some time it will become cold again. Therefore it has borrowed its heat. Where has the water borrowed the heat from? From the pan, which is red hot. Does the pan have heat of its own? No. It's borrowed its heat. Where has it borrowed its heat from? From the fire. And the fire, where has it borrowed its heat from? It has heat of its own. As long as the fire lasts, it will be hot. It has intrinsic heat. Whenever the fire is there, it is hot. Consciousness is borrowed in the body from the sensory system, the nervous system. And the sensory system has borrowed consciousness from the mind. And the mind has borrowed consciousness from the reflected consciousness. And the reflected consciousness is borrowed from the witness consciousness. And the witness consciousness is borrowed from nobody. It is intrinsic consciousness. It is consciousness itself. It's always there. It's always consciousness. Whereas the mind and the sensory system lose consciousness. In deep sleep, not conscious. And in death, when the mind, the subtle body goes away to other worlds, maybe to other births, then the body lies dead. No longer do we say, that is me. We don't say that. So, the body has borrowed consciousness from the sensory system from the mind, from the reflected consciousness in the mind, and the reflected consciousness is borrowed from the witness consciousness, the sakshi, which we are. We lend consciousness to this, and then up to the tips of my fingers, I say, I am conscious. That accounts for the difference between this body and this microphone. Though this body is an object of experience, this microphone is also an object of experience. What causes confusion is there is consciousness in the body. That's why we feel, I am this body. But the fact is, I am not this body.